Start. Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, during the last two 5-year plans, we found improvement in production all round now. We are entering the third plan and it is only proper that we should carefully ponder over the whole matter and see in what things we are lagging behind and what improvements are necessary. My submission is that the plan is a huge one. We have had to get foreign assistance. We have taxed our people. Therefore, every rupee of it must be carefully spent, and that is what is very necessary. Planning at the center is very good, very appropriate, but the implementation, the execution of it in the states is not as it should be. We find that every year more money under a particular head is spent hurriedly within the last 2 or 3 months, and within the first 9 months money is very slowly spent. What happens is things are not done properly, things are not done economically, and there is a great wastage. The feeling of austerity, the feeling of economy is not there, and unless it is there, unless we feel that every rupee should be spent very carefully, the amount that has been allotted will not be sufficient. We probably might require more. Therefore, I would very humbly submit that there should be a feeling of austerity and a feeling of doing the duty in the proper manner. There should be economy all round. I think there is wastefulness. That is my general impression. I move about in the villages, I go to the different blocks, I go to the towns, and I go to the cities. There is not that austerity, that there is not that determination that is essential for the successful implementation of such a huge plan. Therefore, my submission is that the mind of the government should be centered around this fact. It should give an impression to all its subordinate officers that they should be very active, very careful, and very economical. I find that in spite of all improvements, the prices of foodstuffs are rising every day, and if this goes on, there will be no zest for the 5-year plan among the masses. They want something substantial. I know that roads have been built. I know that there are schools, there are dispensaries, and there are other amenities, but that does not help the poor man. He wants food, and primarily he is anxious about that, and so long as things remain as they are, the enthusiasm which is necessary for the successful implementation of the plan will not be there. We find all round a feeling of depression among the village people. Those who are landless or those who have small pieces of land feel depressed when they find that there is no food for them. And that feeling creates frustration, and it never helps to achieve good results. Therefore, my submission is that special attention has to be paid to stop the rise in the prices of foodstuffs and cloth. Again, in the villages, we find that the wages are very meager. In the towns, of course, the people get good wages, but the laborers in villages are as before. No proper legislation is there to see that they get proper wages. We find that people are without any occupation in the rural areas. We thought that within these 10 years there will be great effort to have cottage industries in the villages. We find that only in regard to agriculture there is improvement visible all round, but in the villages there is very little of cottage industries. No industrial enterprise is there, and therefore I would humbly submit that this aspect of the question should be carefully seen too. Now what we find in the villages is that the new chemical fertilizers are being greatly welcomed. This is not so very good because the poor people cannot afford to have chemical fertilizers. Compost should be encouraged more and more, and then they can use their green leaves, cow dung, etc., and they can get manure. That is how things were done before, but they were not done properly, and so the net result was not so good. But I can assure you that some time back the yield was much better than what it is now. These chemical fertilizers require a lot of water, and there is a general program of pushing in these fertilizers even where there is no water, so there is failure. This aspect of the question has also to be carefully considered and properly thought out before we supply fertilizers to the poor people. Now the question of unemployment is really creating a great depression. We are having colleges all round, graduates are coming out of these colleges, but when they go from place to place, they find no vacancy. It is because we do not have the required curriculum and we only have these ordinary science courses and arts courses. Technical education is not being given that place which it should have. Mr. Deputy Chairman, I rise to intervene in the debate only because of certain observations made by the Honorable Member from Rajasthan about the Rajasthan Canal. I have got the greatest regard from the Honorable Member and I can appreciate that whatever he said was only in his anxiety to expedite the construction of the Rajasthan Canal. He correctly paid a tribute to the work of the Irrigation and Power Ministry, and he also said that when he saw the mighty projects under construction, not only he but the other foreign experts too were wonderstruck, to put it in his own words, at the progress made by the country in respect of irrigation and power development, full stop. It is but fair that he should have made these observations because the huge task of building mighty river projects in the country, the various technicalities involved therein, the number of problems the engineers have to tackle, and the spirit of teamwork with which they carry on the work are bound to create admiration for the work that they have been doing. I am grateful to the Honorable Member for paying that tribute. It is therefore that I want to clarify certain points. He made out a case that because the Rajasthan Canal was a project of national importance, the centre should take over the control of that project and not leave it to the Rajasthan government. As I mentioned with great regard that I have for him, I tried to analyze the reasons and arguments for his apprehensions about the progress of the Rajasthan Canal. In the other house, the same apprehension was expressed by another member from Rajasthan. As opinions differ about the capacity so that state or about the capacity of the engineers, another member in that house observed that the progress of the Rajasthan Canal was very satisfactory, and he went on further to say that the apprehension which the honorable member had expressed was not reasonable and no basis. That is what the other member from Rajasthan in the other house expressed. Therefore, I want to know exactly what he wants. I find from the proceedings that he thinks that the regional interests in that area or in that state are likely to prejudice the construction, and therefore the centre should take over the work. I may assure the honorable member that the centre is very closely associated with the execution of the Rajasthan Canal. There is the Rajasthan Canal Control Board, and on that formerly there was no representative of the ministry. Looking to the importance of the project, the Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Irrigation and Power, the Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Finance, and a member or the Chairman of the Central Water and Power Commission are now associated with the working of the control board. Moreover, there is a committee of direction which gives direction for the construction of the project and lays down the policy. That committee is presided over by the Minister of Irrigation and Power, Government of India. The Chief Minister of Rajasthan and the Chief Minister of Punjab are members of this committee of direction. Therefore, from the point of view of the day-to-day execution as well as from the point of view of the policy question, the centre is very closely associated with the execution of the project. If the honorable member wants that the project should be executed by the centre directly, it may not be possible. It is not possible because even under the constitution, we do not directly execute any project. The House might recall that the estimates committee recommended that the center should not directly take up any execution work. They must work as technical advisors or in overall supervision of the project. They should not take up the direct execution of any project, but as the project is of national importance, we have a very careful watch on the execution of the project. We see that in matters of policy and decisions are taken by the committee of direction and the day-to-day execution is taken up by the control board. Then I went further to analyze the other reason why he wants the center to take over the project. He says that the construction of the Rajasthan Canal is lagging behind the schedule by 2 months for lack of supplies of cement and coal. Now, if the construction is lagging behind by 2 months only, that is not such a grave factor as to cause that sort of apprehension. Even then, it is not the cause that because the center is not in charge of the execution of the project that the delay, if any, has occurred. The delay in the supply of coal, as everybody knows, was due to difficulties of transport. The delay in the supply of cement was due to short supply. Even then, we have in the Central Water and Power Commission a cell which looks after the requirements of the river valley projects. Full stop. Over.